Today we'll be unboxing another figurine for the week. Here we have is a figure from the manufacturer and distributor, Good Smell Company. A figurine part of their pop-up parade line is a PVC figure of the characters Anarchy Panty and Anarchy Stocking from the series Panty Stocking with Garterbelt, or Panty and Stockings with Garterbelt. But sadly, no Garterbelt here. But as always, before we take the figurines out of their packaging, just in case you didn't know, Panty Stocking with Garterbelt, or Panty and Stocking with Garterbelt, is an anime original, originally released in October of 2010, consisting of 13 episodes by Studios Gainax, which is the same studio that's also made other series like Shinseki Evangelion in 1995, Gunbusters in 1988, Otaku no Video in 1991, and others. The story was written by a group called Geek Fleet that also includes Wakabayashi Hiromi and Hiroyuki Imaishi, who helped create and collaborate with the series. Panty and Stockings also has a manga with the same name, published in Kadokawa Shoten Young Ace in August of 2010, written by Targo. There's also a new season called New Panty and Stocking with Garterbelt, but this time is by Studios Trigger in 2025, consisting of 13 episodes. Here we have is Anarchy Panty and Anarchy Stocking in their regular forms, created into a pop-up figure. So this is their box rotating in 360. So without holding you guys back, let's just take these two bitches out their packaging and see how the figurine looks, starting with the slut Panty. So here we have is Anarchy Panty straight out of her packaging, and as you can see here, she's actually protected with bubble wrapping and plastic to protect the figurine from getting any damages or scrapes on the paint. So let's just remove all of this excess plastic and see how the figurine looks up close. So here we have is Anarchy Panty's base, and here at the bottom, just like we see with other figurines, we do have his information for the figurines and also some of the for the show. You can see here is Trigger and you can see one of the creators at the bottom, and you do see it's made in China. But besides that, the base is actually quite simplistic. There's two insert holes on the top, a little bit of transparency towards it, but besides that, it's just a white base. There is noticeable little lines here by the circular insert holes, and I didn't want to point that out because I think we've seen that with other pop-up parade figurines. But besides that, there's nothing really too much special, so let's just move on to the figurine. So here we have is the Heavenly Princess here, Anarchy Panty, sister of Stocking. And as you can see here, we're going to be doing this like we do with every other figurine that we have. We're going to be looking at a closer shot from her shoe area all the way to their head sculpt. So as you can see here, she does have two pegs from the bottom of her foot, and she is wearing heels, so I gotta correct myself. So you can see a closer shot of her heels, which the paint application looks actually quite nice. They did give it a glossy finish, or a glossy paint, which gives it more of a pop, vibrant feel to it. And the paintwork on it looks actually pretty nice. You do see one of her legs is actually straight while the other one's bended. And you do see here we have is a little panty shot here because, you know, hence her name Panty. She doesn't have too much of a scoped thigh or bottom section of her hips because she's actually a little bit of skinny, which actually more of the anime's like style, because it's more of a cartoony style rather than a realistic, you know, well, until they're transformed. But you do see here the dress actually looks pretty nicely sculpted. I did want to point that there's a noticeable line here on her dress. I do want to state that that's actually a smudge. That's not a, you know, sculpt error. But I did want to point that out just in case anyone's seen it in the video. I did notice that. I think you can actually rub that off. But besides that line there, I think the whole dress sculpt actually looks pretty nicely sculpted. It has kind of waving in the air, And here's her hand sculpt where she has an open palm. Because they're stylized more of a cartoony feel, you can see her hands kind of looks blocky. But I think it really fits because in the show, if you've seen it, they're actually more of a blocky look. And I think they really captured it well into this 3D form. And here in the back of her dress here, I did want to point out, it's not the best painted. There's a bit of red color bleeding into her flesh there, which makes kind of a pink look towards her skin tone here by the dress, which looks a little bit bad. But it's not really that noticeable because you have this, you know, big hair sculpt here on the back that blocks her backside. So it's not really something that you do notice when you look at it, and I don't think anyone's gonna notice if you have these propped up with other figurines. And you do see here she has her dress here from the top, holding onto her panty gun, because you know in the show she could transform guns or underwear into guns, which that's why you see here she has the little bow in front of her gun, which is it's pretty funny. But it actually looks pretty nicely sculpted. It looks simplistic because again this is a 2D show or a cartoony show, so there's not going to be really too much detail you do see on the figure. And I did want to point out this arm sculpt here. It does feel a little bit flimsy, or should I say fragile. Do be careful when you are handling this because it's also with this earring here, it does feel like if you tug on that or you put too much force onto it, it will snap. So do be careful with that. Her hair here actually looks really amazingly detailed, even if it's supposed to be simplistic. Adding all these separate little section of her hair sculpt looks actually really nice. We do see here's the other side of her earring, and here on her front facial sculpt, which looks absolutely really great. I really love the way they painted her eyes. She does have two eyebrows, but because of her front bang on the front there is actually blocking one of her eyebrows, it kind of obscures that eyebrow. You do see she does have a white line across her hair, which kind of looks like a lightning bolt, which I think also captures the figurine's character really nicely in this. And again, there's not really too much detail on the hair. We do get this little dent here, which kind of could be a sculpted hair, but besides that, the figurine is absolutely amazingly painted. I really love the way they translated this 2D style into this 3D model, which I think they did an amazing job with it. Besides that, there's not really too much else to show you with the figurine, but let's just add this to the base and move on to her sister stocking. So here we have is Anarchy Stocking, straight out of her packaging. And as you can see here, she's also wrapped with plastic and bubble wrap to protect the figurine from getting any damages or paint scrapes and stuff like that. So let's just remove all of this excess plastic and see how the figurine looks up close. So here we have is her base, which is similar to Panty's, but before we actually look into it, here at the bottom of the base, we do get his information for the figurine and also the series, just like we saw with Panty. And besides that, there's not really much else too special to show with this figurine's base because it's, you know, kind of similar to other pop-up parade figurines. There are 3 holes here, or insert holes for stocking to be placed on top of, but there's not really much else to show you with the base besides it just being a white base. But I did want to point out there's also these lines, like I stated with Panty's base, we do is these little line scrapes there, which I don't know what that is, but let's just move on to the figurine. So here we have is Anarchy Stocking, sister to Panty, and rather than having a slutty vibe, she's more of a gluttony snack character with a gothic Lolita look. So starting here from the bottom of her foot area, we do see is the 3 insert pegs on the bottom of her foot, and here we have is her heel with her stocking, and it's kind of hard to see that it does have this section here is actually her shoe, and then the top portion is her stocking, which it kind of blends in together quite well. But they did give it a glossy finish, so it's kind of different from their stocking area, so you can kind of see there's a bit of a difference between the stocking and the foot, which is, I think it's painted quite nicely. You do see in the bottom of her dress, she does have a more of a sculpted hip, but there's not really much panties underneath like we saw with Panty. It's kind of weird saying it like that, but you do see the stocking goes all the way up to her hips there, where she has more of a sculpted hip figure rather than panty. I'm trying not to trip up on my words. And here we have is the paint application here looks decent. There's still some overlapping white on her black dress. It's kind of hard to tell, but you could kind of see in some areas it's not painted the best, but it still looks pretty decent. Here we have is her little kitten plush, which is pretty cute. If you've seen the show, this is what Garterbelt gives to her, and I think the name is Honeko Neko, I think. And it's supposed to be a plush, but I know in the show it sometimes comes alive, but I'm not really certain. But you do see here, it's actually painted quite nicely. She does have this super large hair sculpt, which kind of obscures her rest of her figurine sculpt. But you do see here they have pink lines on her hair, because the bottom of her hair sculpt is actually a different color than the top portion of it. Where you do see here is more of a pink, which actually has a pretty nice blend of coloring compared to the darker front, and then the bottom is more of a pinker color, which I really do like. I did here flash a light so we can kind of see here underneath her dress. We do see is a little blue bow, and then we do see is her shoulder. She has puffy shoulders there for her dress. We do see here where the hair connects to her head sculpt on the bottom there, and we do see she does have two sets of ears on the top, so they did sculpt the ears. And here from the back section of her hair, we do see here there's a bit of sculpt work on the hair, but not really too much, but it's kind of noticeable when you look at it up close. Here we have is one of her palm, where she has an open palm, but compared to Panty, where she's holding her gun, she's not holding her katana, just like we saw in the intro segment. And here I did notice that the blue paint they added here for her little section here kind of bleeding onto the white, which is kind of noticeable, which they could have done maybe a better job with that. Maybe this is just my figurine, so a disclaimer there, this could just be mine, maybe not yours, maybe yours comes better, but that's just something I noticed that they should fix. But not in pop-up parades, they tend to always be messed up sometimes. So here we have is her face sculpt here, which actually looks absolutely amazing. We do see she does have eyebrows underneath her front bangs here, but yeah, right here you can do see her little eyebrows painted on. It's a little bit hard to tell because she has her front hairs blocking it, and they kind of gave her a purplish hue to her skin because her hair, to give it a little bit more like shade towards it, because her hair is blocking her eyes. And you do see we kind of get a better look of her ears on the inside, and we do get these three separate lines for her hair because they didn't really sculpt much of her hair. And yeah, besides that, they have this blue bow on the back of her hair, which is the only thing separated from this ginormous hair sculpt. There's two lines here in the back, which I don't know what those are, but they're just two lines they have here by the bow. But besides that, there's not really too much else to show you with the figurine. Again, I really absolutely love Stocking, and I love her vibe and her little gothic Lolita look, which looks really nice. So besides that, there's not really much else to show you, but I think they really translated this figurine quite well into 2D into 3D. So let's just add this to the base and complete the unboxing. Alright guys, so that was Good Smile Company's pop-up parade PVC figures of the character Anarchy Panty and Anarchy Stocking from the series Panty Stocking with Garterbelt. All in all, I gotta say is I think they did a fantastic job making these figurines, or translating these figurines from their 2D art style into 3D, keeping that 2D style. What do you guys think of the figurines? I think the figurines are actually really amazing. They could use a little bit of touch-ups in some areas, such as the paint, but knowing pop-up parades, you know, they're always going to be a little bit messed up. Regardless, if you actually do like these figurines, I highly recommend it. They're actually pretty good. There's their transformed versions. I do have them, but I'll probably unbox it in a separate video just to keep this video short. And hopefully they create some of the other characters as well, because I would like to see them also created into a pop-up parade. That's going to be it in this one, guys. If you've not checked out the series, I highly recommend it. It's such an amazing, fantastic series that I think you will also enjoy. So I'm going to leave you guys off with the figurine rotating in 360 and another close-up shot. So, as I always say, always support the original creators for the series of figurines that we unbox. Thank you guys for always supporting the videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully they make a Garterbelt, because I would like to see them into a figurine.
I'll never betray.